Time now for Mixing It with Robert Sandell and Mark Russell, and tonight's programme contains some strong language.
Hello, tonight we bring you a session by Regina Spektor, the New York-based pianist, singer and all-round troublemaker, who joins us here in Studio B14 to give the BBC Steinway a good seeing to. And alongside that, there are CD tracks by Alejandro Escovedo, Black Ox Orchestra, Christian Marclay, Swans, Helen Chadwick, champion kickboxer Lazy B, Roy Nathanson and Lupin Crook.
Now, I have to confess I never have any idea what's in the top 10 singles charts, but if I lived in Russia, it might all be so different, because in Russia, this band, Leningrad, are a regular fixture in the charts, as well as being a huge stadium act there. They have 15 members, who together sound like a cross between surf guitar punk and a brassy wedding band. And apparently, the mixture of profanity and politics in the lyrics makes their songs unplayable on the radio. But not here, eh?
Напевает молодежь. Ленинград, Ленин снег, Ленин дождь. Питерград, Питер дождь, Питер снег. Закурить найдется человек. Ночь, улица, фонарь, фонарь, аптека, ларек, менты, банты и дискотека. Все на местах и век от века. Ларек, менты, банты и дискотека. Здесь дома из надежды и грез, и хозяину не передоз. Не помогут тебе крики ЗОС. Ты люби этот город до слез.
What a tremendous way to open a programme. That is the Russian band Leningrad. That song was Lenin/Grad from their album Hleb, which I wonder if that's a tribute to the Arsenal player Alexander Hleb.
Let's not go there, Mark, shall we?
And it's on the East Bloc music label, and it's a fantastic album.
Is it all in that sort of rather frenzied, almost glam rock meets, I don't know, belching Eastern...
It's all kind of like that, yes. I particularly like that very gruff vocal style.
Yes.
But I think I really like the way the brass instruments work into the whole thing. It somehow makes it slightly more comical.
Yes. I don't know. A little of that goes a long way with me, but it's certainly worth its 2 minutes 46. Now, a bit of faux klezmer from Montreal, perhaps. Black Ox Orchestra are a prominent part of the diaspora made up of former members of Godspeed You Black Emperor, who, of course, are the originators of Montreal's indie experimental music scene. Black Ox, it must be said, are a rather small orchestra, comprising just 4 members. They're led by Thierry Armand, who plays double bass, and they roam musically all over East and Central Europe, gathering tunes, idioms, and arrangements from the various Jewish communities who shaped the klezmer genre. Here's an instrumental dance piece modelled on a frenetic Balkan theme. Black Ox Orchestra and a track called Ratseka Grek from their album Nisht Azoy, which is on Montreal's Constellation label. I'll tell you who they are. They're Jessica Moss, she plays violin and bass clarinet. Thierry Almar, who's really the leader, he plays double bass. Both of them play in the Mount Zion Band, who go under various names like A Silver Mount Zion and the Mount Zion Tralala group. And in addition to them, we've got Gabe Levine on guitar, and rounding it off is Scott Levine Gilmore on vocals, mandolin and various percussion instruments.
In fact, when we went to Montreal nearly 2 years ago and we interviewed Thierry Almar,
yeah.
They were working on that album then.
They were. And I can remember Thierry Almar got rather uptight when we started asking him about his particular take on political issues, because although you wouldn't guess it from that track, apparently they're quite strongly opposed to the Zionist movement in Israel, but he wouldn't talk about it.
In fact, he left the room.
He did. He had to leave the room.
He came back, though. Now, an intriguing album came in the post this week. It's called Amplified, New Music Meets Rock, 1981 to 86. A golden age, maybe, for that kind of music. The recordings here are taken from the Kitchens archive of live recordings, which were made at their New York Mercer Street performance space. So here on the album there are pieces by Sonic Youth and Arthur Russell, for example, but I've chosen two very contrasting ones. Swans were a New York noise rock band, and apparently their gig that was recorded here was cut short by the police after their complaints from neighbours of excessive noise. And before them, the great Christian Markley, the first non-rap DJ to make an art form out of the turntable. See if you can be as successful as Robert here in identifying his vinyl sources. Here's Christian Markley, recorded on November the 24th, 1982, with his master's voice.
In the own faith, literature, radio, long and true, to shock
in the dust.
Pick me.
Who was picked out of the man. He didn't want it. The latest
Healy.
Merciful man.
Sequence of
All the elements.
no other
would slip.
with my wife. Begin.
They were
Love.
the time of
Out.
Rapunzel.
Eight and nine. And the process. The initials.
Heaven saw. Bring up in the young.
Dream.
It's part of the body.
Out of ease.
He
Loud.
will
Above.
Baba.
chanting.
Rabbits. Hearing. Narrowly again. Yeah.
Days with life.
He did not.
Neighborhood.
Not
All
the public.
Matters a maid.
Horses.
Oh, radio.
Long and to shock.
In the dust.
Take Italians, what?
Because he didn't want it.
Healy.
Merciful man.
Sequence aisles.
All the elements.
No other what and when. Begin.
Pause and swallows the grunt from afar. Gird up your law and me that you make majesty and abase him together and ox. of iron or weeds. His turbulence or pierce everything that the ram. And he does not question you measurements.
quite a noise. I can understand why the neighbours complain. That was Swans and Weakling. And before that, Christian Markley, his master's voice. And both of those pieces were recorded live at the Kitchen in 1982, taken from this very interesting album, Amplified New Music Meets Rock 1981 to 86, which is on the Orange Mountain Music label.
It's a good period to focus on, I think, especially what was going on in New York at that time. It's an often underrated period, I think, of innovation, because the 80s get such a bad rap usually as a decade of sort of commercial music of one sort or another, but there was some phenomenal stuff going on there.
Well, I think it's interesting because over 20 years on, the kind of stuff that's on this CD is the sort of thing that we play week in, week out. But then it really was a very new idea, this new music meeting rock. But the Swans pieces, there are two of them here. You can tell they were recorded loud because the vocals are absolutely screamed and they're just somewhere in the distance, right at the back of the mix. You can tell it's loud.
Yeah. And thank you, Mark, for your kind observation about my picking up on the samples in the Christian Markley track. I'm not usually very good at identifying samples, but I did spot a very large one on that track of Markley's, which was taken from Atom Heart Mother by Pink Floyd.
What was a long section of it, was it?
A long section of the climactic point, actually, of the Atom Heart Mother track itself. Tex-Mex Americana coming up next, courtesy of Alejandro Escovedo. Now, I remember this guy from his days with Rank and File, the early 80s band from the Bay Area who pioneered what was then called country punk and later evolved into the highly influential American indie brand Out Country. For the past 15 years, Escovedo has been a solo agent, performing in a variety of guises from the Alejandro Escovedo Orchestra to a string quintet and a hard-rocking quartet, Brick Markane. He's just released his 7th solo album, The Boxing Mirror, which he recorded with producer John Cale following a near-death experience from hepatitis C. An older man and wiser now by the sound of it, rather like a Mexican Johnny Cash, in fact. Here he is singing the album's title track, The Boxing Mirror.
I saw the good son walking with Leo Canton down Boulevard with Leo Canton. His beginning prose as he took a jab. I saw the good son at the Underground Hall of Fame. I saw the good son on the arm of a princess. His beginning froze under the weight of the sea. I saw the good son, arm of a princess. She was wise and strong, spit out the raging sea. more the good son. He lost his sense of space. His beginning froze under the weight of the sun. No more the good son is walking around. He's looking for Leo Canton.
I really love the languid, some mournful atmosphere of that track. That's Alejandro Escovedo, the title track from his album The Boxing Mirror, available on Back Porch Records.
Now to our session and interview with the New York-based singer-songwriter and pianist Regina Spektor. Her new album, Begin to Hope, is released in 10 days' time, and she's right here with us in the studio, in the corner over there, sitting at the grand piano, and she's going to play some songs and chat about her colourful life. And first of all, she's chosen, rather appropriately, to play On the Radio.
This is how it works. It feels a little worse than when we drove our hearse right through that screaming crowd while laughing up a storm until we were just bone, until it got so warm that none of us could sleep, and all the styrofoam began to melt away. We tried to find some worms to aid in the decay, but none of them were home. Inside their catacomb, a million ancient bees began to sting our knees while we were on our knees, praying that disease would leave the ones we love and never come again. And on the radio, we heard November Rain. That solo's real long, but it's a pretty song. We listened to it twice, 'cause the DJ was asleep. This is how it works. You're young until you're not. You love until you don't. You try until you can't. You laugh until you cry. You cry until you laugh. And everyone must breathe until a dying breath. No, this is how it works. You peer inside yourself. You take the things you like, then try to love the things you took, and then you take that love you made and stick it into someone else's heart, pumping someone else's blood and walking arm in arm. You hope it don't get harmed, but even if it does, you'll just do it all again. And on the radio, you'll hear November Rain. That solo's awful long, but it's a good refrain. You listen to it twice, 'cause the DJ is asleep. On the radio, on the radio, on the radio, oh, on the radio, oh, on the radio, oh, on the radio.
Regina Spektor, we're delighted to have you in our studio with our piano here in the corner. So that first song that you played on the radio, that's from your new album, Begin to Hope.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about that song.
Well, I could tell you about the funny video I got to make for it. It was my mom is a teacher in a school, and I got to go to her school and shoot the video there, and I pretended to be a music teacher, and there were 6-year-old kids all around, and they were playing to my song and singing it, and then we used the school band too, so it was really exciting.
Regina, you're often described in the literature I've read about you as part of this scene in New York called anti-folk. Can you tell us what that is and whether you agree that you're part of it?
Well, even among the people that are classified as anti-folk, we all just sit around and we're like, do you know what that means? I don't know. Do you? I don't know. And so we kind of figured that what it is probably just a community of musicians that were playing in the Lower East Side, and were playing mostly acoustic instruments. And the whole idea of it was just being very direct. You almost sing like you speak. It's not stylized. It really pays a lot of attention to lyrics, and a lot of the time it's kind of punky. Most anti-folk people, I think, are more political than maybe I am. In a lot of ways, like classical music, which is my background, is really not, it kind of goes against anti-folk because it's about like being strummy and simple in the music and kind of complicated in the lyrics and kind of smart asses.
So this mixture of sort of punk attitude and classical training is quite unusual, isn't it?
I don't know, it's all I know.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the classical thing, because the next song you're going to do, which is my favourite from your new album, it reminds me, the piano writing is a bit like Debussy. It's very impressionistic, and there's a sort of whole tone scale passage in it. Was it influenced by Debussy?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's really hard to pin down what the lineage of the songs, the ancestry of it or whatever. But I definitely hear a lot of that impressionistic, like probably like paintings and music.
So let's hear the song, 20 Years of Snow.
He's a wounded animal. He lives in a matchbox. He's a wounded animal, and he's been coming around here. He's a dying breed. He's a dying breed. His daughter's 20 years of snow falling. She's 20 years of strangers looking into each other's eyes. She's 20 years of clean. She never truly hated anyone or anything. She's a dying breed. She's a dying breed. She says, I'd prefer the moss. I'd prefer the mouse, the baby of the swamps, a baby of the south. I'm 20 years of clean, and I never truly hated anyone or anything. 20 years of clean, 20 years of clean. But I got to get me out of here. This place is full of dirty old men and navigators with their maps and moldy heads and pissing on sugar cubes. I got to get me out of here. This place is full of dirty old men and the navigators with the maps and moldy heads and pissing on sugar cubes. While you stare at your books, and the words float out like holograms, and the words float out like holograms, and the words float out like holograms. They say feel the walls, come on baby, baby, now feel the walls, feel the walls, feel the walls, come on baby, baby, now feel the walls. Oh, oh.
20 Years of Snow, Regina, beautiful song. What's it about?
That's always hard. I never know how to answer that. Sometimes I make stuff up just to appease people because I don't want to seem rude, but you seem like nice people. I can just tell you that I don't really know how to answer that.
Let's talk a bit about your background, which is very interesting. You were born in Russia and you moved to America when you were 9. Living in America, being a songwriter, do you approach songwriting as a sort of an outsider? Or, I mean, do you have a bit of both worlds in how you work?
I definitely think that my approach just to language and stuff was really influenced by the fact that I got there and I didn't know what the hell anybody was talking about. I didn't speak a word of English, and there was a lot of learning from body language and sounds, and so I think it's just as far as like singing or any kind of pronunciation, anything goes, you know. Everything is game.
There are bits of Russian on the album as well, aren't there? I noticed a couple.
A tiny bit. It was my first time actually putting a little bit of Russian on the record, but it's not my own. It's Pasternak. He's a poet, and it's a little bit from his poem about February.
Do you have any sort of Russian musical influences that you're aware of in your...
I'm very influenced by Russian culture in general, a lot of the literature and you know, Pushkin and Gogol and Chekhov, and, you know, the list of the writers goes on, and of course Prokofiev and Tchaikovsky, and the bittersweetness of the Russian soul is very, very special. It's very particular. It's very nostalgic and melancholy, but also always with a laugh in it.
And what have you picked up of the country that you now live in?
In a lot of ways, you know, people always talk about how I'm from Russia, but in a lot of ways I am the quintessential American. I'm an immigrant, you know, and I got to the Bronx and, you know, all of a sudden I was listening to all these Latin rhythms, you know, coming out of cars and windows, and lots of hip hop, and just, you know, everything was so deliciously different, you know.
I was just going to say, picking up on the American thing, the next song you're going to play is very American. It's got a real sort of gospel-y feel to it, hasn't it? Field Below.
I'm one of those ignorant referencers, so I take little bits from everywhere, but I'm not necessarily, you know, I don't immerse myself and fully study it. I just kind of, it's very postmodern. I just like nick little bits, you know, from here and there, and make composites of stuff.
Well, that's probably what makes it sound so original and individual, I should imagine. Anyway, let's hear Field Below.
I wish I'd see a field below. I wish I'd hear a rooster crow. But there are none who live downtown, and so the day starts out so slow. Again, the sun was never cold, and darkness spreads over the snow like ancient bruises. I'm awake and feel the ache, but I wish I'd see a field below. I wish I'd see a field below. see your face below. I wish I'd hear you whispering low, but you don't live downtown no more, and everything must come and go. Again, the sun was never cold, and darkness spreads over the snow like ancient bruises. I am awake and feel the ache. I'm awake and feel the ache. But I wish I'd see a field below. I wish I'd see a field below. I'm awake and feel it. Oh, oh, but I wish I'd see a field below. I'm awake and feel it. Oh, but I wish I'd see a field below. I wish I'd see a field below. I wish I'd see a field below.
That was Regina Spektor, our studio guest, and that was Feel Below, which is on her new album, Begin to Hope. The next piece you're going to play, Regina, is actually the first track on your new album. And on the album, it's got lots of pizzicato strings and drum beat. It's quite sort of heavily produced. What's it like doing it just on solo piano?
Unplugged.
I think in a lot of ways, because I started with classical music, and I started playing really young when I was 6, so I had the whole experience of having to play recitals, and in Moscow it was really strict, a lot more strict than in America. You have to walk in there and there's a committee, and my feet couldn't even touch the floor yet, and I had a big white bow in my hair, and I was very nervous, and I had to play my...
How old were you when this happened?
Like 6, 7, 8.
Right.
I was in Russia, and we always had these recitals. And in a lot of ways, I kind of just learned what it feels like to be on the stage by myself. And it's almost, I've had a lot of friends in bands, and they always say, "Oh my God, how do you go on stage by yourself? Isn't it scary?" And to me, it's scary to go with other people because I'm a micromanager, so I know what I'm going to do, but I don't know what they're going to do.
When did you decide that you were going to make music your career, or particularly that you were actually going to write your own music and perform it?
Well, I was always like scribbling little bits here and there when I was around 16, 17. And at that point, it hit me that I wasn't going to be a classical pianist, because I always thought I would. But I had to face the fact that I was extraordinarily lazy for a classical pianist, and I wanted to sit in my corner of my room and read books instead of practicing 9 hours a day. And so I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life at all. And then I went on an arts trip to Israel, and I was always humming little a cappella songs I would make up, and kids were like, you have a great voice, you should learn to play an instrument. I was like, well, I know how to play an instrument. So they were like, well, go back to New York and write some songs. So I started writing songs, and they were terrible. Very, very bad. And then slowly I worked a lot, and then they got slightly better.
This is your fourth album, is it? I think, Begin to Hope?
Yes. The other two were self-released.
Yeah. And then there was Soviet Kitsch, was it?
Yeah, that was my...
That's a great title. Why have you called the new album Begin to Hope?
From Soviet Kitsch, which was my first ever album to be promoted by, somebody other than myself, I realized that, it ends up in places like magazines or walls and weird places. And so I thought, next album, I want to actually say something to people that a statement that I would love for them just to see, where if they're flipping through a magazine, just a little Begin to Hope or somewhere. So it has nothing really to do with the album in general, but I figured...
It's to cheer people up.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to hope right now.
We should say that you're on tour at the moment, aren't you? You're doing a lot of playing in UK.
Yes.
Right up until the 20th of August, so if people want to go and see you...
Yeah, you're playing all over Britain for most of July. We'll put all this up on the website.
Yeah, all kinds of festivals. I'm very excited.
Well, it's very exciting for us to have you here in the studio playing the piano in front of our very eyes. Thanks very much for coming in, Regina. And here is your last song of your session, Fidelity. Thank you.
I never loved nobody fully. Always one foot on the ground. And by protecting my heart truly, I got lost in the sounds I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. 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 Suppose I never ever met you. Suppose we never fell in love. Suppose I never ever let you kiss me so sweet and so soft. Suppose I never ever saw you. Suppose you never ever called. Suppose I kept on singing love songs just to break my own fall, just to break my fall, just to break my fall, just to break my fall, break my fall, break my fall. All my friends say that of course it's gonna get better, gonna get better, 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 better. Oh, I never loved nobody fully. Always one foot on the ground. And by protecting my heart truly, I got lost in the sounds I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. But it breaks my heart. But it breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart, when it breaks my heart, when it breaks my heart, and it breaks my heart, when it breaks my heart, and it breaks my heart, and it breaks my heart.
The last song from tonight's session with Regina Spektor, that was Fidelity. one of the 4 tracks that she played, which are all on her new album, Begin to Hope, and our sincere thanks to her for coming in. That was really great.
A short piece now by the British singer and composer Helen Chadwick. This is from her new album, Dancing in My Mother's Arms. And here's a quick puzzle. This song is based on a Venezuelan idea where the bass is in 3 beats while the tune is in 5. And you've got 52 seconds to work it out. Here's Helen Chadwick with My Venezuelan Friend.
My Venezuelan friend is called Elisa Toledo, but she lives in Brazil with her husband Carlos. They met in Paris. He was doing a PhD in samba, but this Venezuelan idea was taught to me by a Colombian I taught once in a workshop at Coastus, but he turned out to have done a workshop in Bogota with my housemate Antonio, who's Spanish. He likes rhythmic games too, and we sometimes stand in the kitchen and stamp and clap in patterns or numbers while toast is cooking, we hope. Carlos, the husband of Venezuelan Elisa, sat with me once at his own table in Brazil, outside by the warm blue sea. There he taught samba patterns with 1 fork and my hand, trying to do 2 patterns at the same time and not managing at all.
All
Well, it started out with Helen Chadwick and her group, who are the singers Helen Chadwick and Barbara Gellhorn, Matthew Coombs and Tom Watson. They were singing My Venezuelan Friend from the album Dancing in My Mother's Arms, which is on Romaine Records. And then it segued seamlessly into champion kickboxer Get On Up from their album Perforations, which is on the Sheffield Phonographic Corporation label. And I thought they sounded a bit like Robert Wyatt there.
They did, I think, Mark. I don't know an awful lot about this group, but they're quite intriguing. They come from Sheffield, as you'd infer from the Sheffield Phonographic Corporation.
Is that their own label?
It's not their own label, but I think they're sort of connected with it. They basically started as a student band at the university up there, and they formed a club night called Electric Blanket, and around this, I think the label sort of emerged. And this sort of strange prog folk sound that they've got, particularly in the vocal arrangements, is strikingly different to, of course, the most famous rock band currently associated with Sheffield, which is the Arctic Monkeys. And in fact, they say rather sniffily that no one we know really likes them. So there's obviously, I think, a bit of a kind of like almost like a rock underground scene set up there in slight opposition to the all-conquering Monkeys.
Well, it sounds like with that vocal style, champion kickbox could start up a sort of madrigal glee club.
It sounded to me a bit, at times, that the album slightly in a rather alarming way. It reminded me of early Yes, actually.
Or Gentle Giant.
Yes. Well, let's not get any further down that road. Now, Lazy Bee is an intriguing musical project started by a Dane who's the former member of Aqua, Soren Nystrom Rasted, which assembles spoken word commentaries from a number of different voices and sources and gives them a rudimentary pop R&B styling. Rasted calls this rhythm and speak, and in its quirky and often hilarious fashion, it has a good old dig at many aspects of the 21st century information-maddened world that we all have to negotiate on a daily basis. So, please adjust your chuckle trousers for Lazy Bee's Facts of Life.
These are the facts. These are the facts from a lazy boy. So help me God.
This is who we are, this is what we do, this is what it is.
The bad facts of the life we live.
This is who we are, this is what we do.
Did you know that 1 out of 4 Americans has appeared on TV? Did you know 61% of all hits on the internet are on sex sites? Every day, 21 newborn babies will be given to the wrong parents. The average person swallows 8 spiders in a year. Cannabis is the most widely abused drug in the world. The average person laughs 13 times a day. Elvis was originally blonde. The average age of first intercourse is 15.3 years old. The average erect penis is 5.2 inches long and 4.2 inches circumcised. Eskimos use refrigerators to keep food from freezing. 41% of all people take people with curly hair less seriously. 20% of all females have had at least one homosexual experience. Did you know that there is no such thing as an anti-wrinkle cream? A pizza will arrive faster than an ambulance in Great Britain. 96% of all women have at one time in their life faked an orgasm. 3 people die every year testing if a 9-volt battery works on their tongue. The Guinness Book of Records holds the record for being the most stolen book in public libraries. Butterflies taste with their feet. 5% of the population is gay. The world's best-known word is okay. The second most well-known word is Coca-Cola. The giraffe can clean its ears with its tongue. Charles Chaplin once won 3rd prize in a Charles Chaplin lookalike contest. In 1995, a Japanese trawler sank because a Russian cargo plane dropped a living cow from 30,000 feet. Only one book has been printed in more copies than the Bible, the IKEA catalogue. Cigarette takes away 5 minutes of a person's life. 1950, we were 3 billion people on the Earth. Today, we are 6 billion people. 6 billion people.
Time is ticking, ticking, yeah.
Donald Duck was banned in Finland because he doesn't wear pants. 74% of all nudist females are nudists because their husbands are nudists. More people die from a champagne cork popping than from poisoned spiders. 21% of all traffic accidents happen because the driver falls asleep. Did you know that originally a Danish guy invented the burglar alarm? Unfortunately, it got stolen. So help me God.
Well, that was a bit of fun, wasn't it? That was Lazy Bee and a track called Facts of Life from the album Lazy Bee TV, which is available shortly on the Universal label. Now, obviously, it's got a very light pop aspect to it, but there's something very clever about that track, I think, in the way that so many of these pieces of information are presented in the authoritative way in which we receive a lot of media information, and some of it is palpably ridiculous. Some of them, on the other hand, are quite likely true. But, I mean, I love that thing about... an average person, it swallows 8 spiders in a year, and also that thing about 3 people dying testing batteries on their tongue.
Yeah, I shall never test a 9-volt battery on my tongue again.
Well, almost certainly made up, but it's a clever little, it's a sort of skit, really, on the way in which we are being bombarded by information, quite a lot of which is basically wrong.
Right, now, Roy Nathanson is a sax player and founder of the Jazz Passengers, and for the last 2 years, he's been working up new songs and a new band in a Brooklyn club. Well, when they were ready, they recorded the new album, and sotto voce is the result, and it was recorded totally live. The arrangements are superb, but the standout feature for me is the amazing work of the human beatbox and singer Napoleon Maddox. Here he is with Roy Nathanson and this quintet, and this is a track called By the Page.
My father paid me to read. My father paid me to read. My father paid me to read. 5 cents a page. My father paid me to read. My father paid me to read. My father paid me to read. 5 cents a page. My father paid me to read. My father paid me to read. Paid me to read. My father paid me to read. 5 cents a page.
Did you think I'd be transformed by the word? That he had an obligation. That a Jewish boy should be tethered to the word. Like a Japanese farmer to his land. So,
my father paid me to read.
My father paid me to read.
Paid me to read. My father paid me to read. 5 cents a page.
Was a landmark book. 30 Seconds Over Tokyo. A landmark book. And B-52s dropped 500 pounds of bombs. $1.20. The U.S. infantry secured a southern beachhead about $1.40. Page 72 to 86. Bombs bursting in the air. Give truth. About $2. The nickels were ringing up my body like a Halliburton stock index in this dad's war. My father's on a mission. He glides into my room. Swinging stealth bomber depositing his last load of coins. $9.15. Then back to base. Solitaire. Page 107. An ancient bridge was destroyed. Work boot hanging on the redwood corpse. P-183. The end.
page. 5 cents a page. 5 cents a page.
5 cents a page.
Roy Nathanson and his band, who are Sam Bardfield, violin and vocals, Curtis Folkes, trombone and vocals, Tim Kaya, bass and vocals, Napoleon Maddox, human beatbox and vocals, and Roy Nathanson himself, alto sax, soprano sax and vocals. It's a fantastic album. It's called Sotto Voce. That was by The Page, and it's on the Alm Fidelity
That's some
label.
pretty good voices on tonight's programme, haven't we?
Yeah, lots of a cappella things. I mean, the extraordinary thing about this album is it's very sort of groove based, but of course there's no drummer or percussionist. It's all human beatbox. Fantastic. Right, if you would like details of that album or anything we've played tonight, you can find the information on our playlist, which you can get by emailing us, mixing.it@bbc.co.uk, or the information is on CFAX, page 652, or you can write to us, Mixing It, BBC Broadcasting House, London W1A 1AA, or there is the website, bbc.co.uk/Radio3, and you can add your comments to the new music message board, or you find the playlist there, or you can listen to the show again. It's on the Listen Again section for the whole of next week.
And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all of you who got in touch with me, offering me your copy of John Cooper Clarke's single Gimmicks, which I used to have in its original triangular orange vinyl. And I was very touched by the number of you who responded to that, and I will be getting in touch with one of you shortly. Thanks very much. Now, we leave you in the unsteady hands of Lupin Crook, which is probably not his real name. He's an eccentrically gifted singer-songwriter and arranger from the Medway towns in Kent, and everyday life is clearly a fraught business for Lupin Crook by the sound of it, but it prompts a starkly linear succession of hysterical musical thoughts, which makes almost everything on his debut album, Accidents Occur While Sleeping, difficult to ignore. We'll be back clamouring for your attention again at the same time next week with an all-CD edition. Until then, good night.
Good night.
Here to be friends. I don't want no trouble tonight. Needles and pins. Hapless clap, I love you. Carry on, wash those feet, don't do it your way. Meanwhile, I've been thinking I'm pretty awful when I'm thinking. Where are my fucking keys? I ain't had sex in weeks. I've been thinking about taking you in your sleep. 'Cause it turns me on, yeah, it turns me wrong. If it turns you on, then I carry on. Bring out the snakes and the good vibrators. If it turns you on, then it turns me on. If it turns us wrong, then we move along and dance, you Brazilian hoes. Drop, dip, and rise to that Brazilian score. Dance, my Brazilian. Wash those feet, don't do it your way. Meanwhile, I've been thinking, a bit of a bastard when I'm drinking. to pretend. I don't want no trouble tonight.
Mixing It was presented by Robert Sandel and Mark Russell, and the producer was James Parkin.